Two 4-year-olds. Same room, same table, same marshmallow. The first one waits 12 minutes. The second one eats it in 3. Nothing separates them. Same age, same school, tested the same week by the same woman. 10 minutes before either of them saw a marshmallow, she made both of them a promise. She kept one of them. Legal bit, quickly. I'm not a psychologist. This is published research, not advice. Here's what she actually did. Celeste Kidd, Holly Palmieri, and Richard Aslan at Rochester 2013. 28 kids, published in Cognition. Before the marshmallow, every child got an art project. The researcher handed over a cup of stubby used crayons and said, "Hang on, I'll go get you the good ones." For half the kids, she came back with better crayons. For the other half, she came back with nothing. Sorry, turns out we don't have any. Then, marshmallow. Wait 15 minutes, get 2. The kids she'd told the truth to waited 12 minutes on average. The kids she'd let down waited 3. One broken promise, 10 minutes earlier, factor of 4. And the kid who ate it fast had just collected evidence that adults in this building say things that don't happen. Eating it was correct. I want to sit on that word, correct. Because for about 50 years, the standard reading of that same behavior was that the kid lacked something. Discipline, self-control, the stuff winners have. You've heard some version of this aimed at you, most people have. That the reason things aren't working is that you can't delay gratification. That you want the small thing now instead of the big thing later. That idea has a source. It's a preschool in California, and the number underneath it is smaller than you'd believe. Bing Nursery School on the Stanford campus. It's a preschool for faculty kids, which is going to matter. Michelle, Ebison, and Zeiss, 1972. 32 children, 3.5 to 5.5. That study made no claims about anybody's future. None. Michelle was studying attention. He found that covering the treat helped kids wait, and that giving them something else to think about helped more. Careful work, and it still stands. The prediction claim arrives 18 years later. Shota, Michelle, and Peak, 1990. This is the paper that put marshmallows in every business book on earth. Between 1968 and 1974, 653 preschoolers went through some version of the task at Bing. The researchers mailed questionnaires to 404 of those families. 185 wrote back. 94 included the kids' SAT score. 94. Think about which families those are. Still findable at the same address 20 years later.
Opened academic mail and bothered to answer it. Had a kid who took the SAT at all, and volunteered the number which, if you've ever met a parent, tells you roughly what the number was. Every person who has ever told you the marshmallow test predicts success is describing those 94 households. Almost none of them know that's what they're doing. Now that's a small sample, and a bad one. But small bad samples sometimes turn out right, so somebody went and checked properly. Tyler Watts, Greg Duncan, and Hao-Nan Kwan in Psychological Science. They dropped the Stanford faculty preschool and used the NICHD longitudinal sample, much bigger, much less uniformly comfortable. They found something. Saying that plainly because the internet flattened this paper into marshmallow test debunked, and that's not it.
For kids whose mothers hadn't finished college, 1 extra minute of waiting at 4 predicted roughly 1/10 of a standard deviation of achievement at 15. Real. Also, almost nothing. And that was already half the size of the original correlation before they adjusted anything. Then they controlled for family background, early cognitive ability, and what the home was like. 2/3 of it disappeared. What survives is faint enough that it tells you nothing about any particular child. The weighting wasn't producing the outcome. The weighting and the outcome were both downstream of the same thing, which is the house the kid went back to at 5 o'clock. There's a counter-argument, and it's a fair one. Armin Falk, Fabian Kosse, and Pia Pinger, 2020, same journal, put the 1990 and 2018 papers side by side. Their case is that Watts ran a conceptual replication, not a direct one. Different measures, different follow-up ages, a different way of scoring the weight. Some of that shrinkage might be method rather than truth. Not resolved. Anyone telling you it's settled either way is ahead of the evidence. And the crayon study has its own problem, which I'm not going to skip. 28 children is very small. An extension study since then got mixed results. I find the logic convincing, but 28 kids is an idea, not a foundation. So here's the whole pile. A first study of 32 faculty children that never claimed to predict anything. A follow-up resting on 94 self-selected families that claimed a great deal. A tiny, clever experiment showing the behavior bends to trust. A large replication finding something real and almost invisible. And a live argument about whether that replication was fair. My read, which is mine and not a finding. The marshmallow test didn't fail as science. It failed as a parable. Michelle was doing careful work on attention. What broke happened later, when a modest correlation from 94 households got promoted into a claim about who people are. And I don't think that promotion was random. Look at what the willpower version lets you conclude. If it comes down to whether a 4-year-old can sit still, then whatever happens afterward is fair. The ones who did well had it in them. The ones who didn't. Nothing needs fixing except individual character. The crayons wreck that. A kid who's learned that adults around here don't follow through is behaving sensibly, and where he learned it has an address, and an income, and adults in it who either can afford to keep promises or can't. Read straight, the test is closer to a reading of a child's circumstances than of a child's character. It got popular because it let people point at circumstances and call it character.
That's what bothers me. Not the study, what got built on it. What none of this means. Self-control is real. It's been measured plenty of other ways since, and this one test just isn't the load-bearing wall it got treated as. It doesn't mean the researchers were sloppy. Michel spent his last years arguing against the pop version of his own work. He knew what his sample was, and he wrote about it. Nobody wanted that version, because the simple one was better television. And if you've been carrying around the idea that you're the kid who ate the marshmallow, 94 SAT scores from 1990 could never have told you that. The 4-year-old in that room is doing arithmetic on the adult who just left it. Some kids had years of evidence that promises get kept. We called it a personality trait, and then we sold books about it. The marshmallow was never the test. The adult walking out of the room was.